Hey there, Jim Johnson for Accent Help here. And what I want to do is I want to talk a little bit about New York accents and the absolute essentials. So in another video, I talk about a couple of different intonations and placement elements that can help you to differentiate some New York accents. What I want to make mention of here are specific sounds that are really helpful when you're doing any New York accent. So there's a quality to it overall that I think will help you. That's a bit of a placement thing, which is that there is a sort of forward sort of sound, whether you're looking at like a really strong sort of Italian Brooklyn sort of stereotype, whether you're looking at something that's a little bit more Bronx or something along that line. There's a forward quality to these that will affect all of the sounds. So I think that's an absolute essential to get that element of the placement in there. And it has an effect on a bunch of different sounds. That's why it's important to start with placement and intonation. When we're talking about specific sounds within a New York accent, one important element is recognizing, and this is potentially changing, reducing over time because of exposure to people from other places and moving around and all that, but is that a New York accent is non-rhotic, meaning that you will tend to drop an R. So in a word like father, you will tend to say father, father, where the R is gone or at least is very soft or light. And compared to many American accents, even a New Yorker who brings their R's on, who keeps those R's on or brings them back on, even a New Yorker who does that, it will tend to be a lighter R. If you do a heavier R, you're going to tend to sound something more like you're from Chicago, something like that. So that hard R is Chicago. That hardness of the R, the quality that you might think of as a Southern or West Texas sort of that sound will not be present in New York accents in general. So it tends towards non-rhotic, towards dropping those post-vowel R's. There are other sort of consonant-related things like dropping the G, going and doing and being, the THs, these, things, those kinds of changes that can happen, but they're non-essential because many New Yorkers don't necessarily do that. What is really essential, and this is true whether it's a lighter New York accent or a heavier New York accent. This is true whether you're talking about a white speaker or a black speaker or an Hispanic speaker. This is something that is across the board for New Yorkers that you've got to be aware of. And this is something I'm not going to go into huge details here because you can see it elsewhere about New York and Boston accents and in some of the information on Hell's Corner. This is what I call Hell's Corner. So this is from the Vowel quadrilateral, and we're looking at some sounds that are here in the back, right? So like for some speakers, this will be father, lot, and cloth, thought. Or for many speakers, like me in my own speech, father, lot, cloth, thought. But for New Yorkers, they're much more extreme. It's almost like you're going from here to here, which is a lot more rounding. It's a tighter sound. It's not quite as open, so that you end up with a distinction between father and lot falling into one category and cloth and thought falling into others. Again, I go into more details on this elsewhere. So when I say thought, I'm talking about other words that share those qualities, like saw, right? All. Those are thought-like words. Just like a cloth-like word is the word off, often. Those are some cloth-like words. Some lot-like words, stop, got, right? Those are like those as well. The interesting thing is there's not a whole lot of father-like words. Drama, llama, there's not a lot of them. So the biggest one is to be aware of lot. I will say, notice this is spelled with O and this is spelled with O. So that'll tend to help you to identify which one. You might go, wait a minute, that one's spelled with O. It's spelled O-U. Again, look at some of my info on Hell's Corner because Hell's Corner is absolutely essential for actors who are learning accents. You've got to understand what's up with these four kinds of words. Right, so for a New Yorker, more of an open sound, no matter what the accent is, something along the line of father, lot, or it might even be something more like father, lot. So it might be that open or slightly rounded, father, lot, just depending on the speaker. And then quite rounded, very rounded, more rounded when it's stressed, a little bit less rounded when it's unstressed, but you don't want to make the mistake of doing what people from where I'm from will tend to do, which is where you might say something more like cloth, cloth. Not in New York, man. You got to say, I'm going to go too strong for a moment. Am I actually going to do it badly for a moment? Cloth, thought. So actually, it's not that bad, but it's not good. I am really going for that where it's so rounded, cloth, that there's actually a little bit of an off glide, cloth, where it starts to open up because it's so thought, right? Usually when it's not stressed, it's not going to be that far. Cloth, thought, but notice it's not cloth, thought. It's more in the direction of cloth, thought. So that super rounding on that is absolutely essential. There's a bunch of other things that happen with New York accents too, but most of them are the kinds of things that happen with most American accents. A flattening sound on the ah sound, as in words like trap, trap, flat, man. Think of the Singing in the Rain. I can't stand it. That flatness of the ah sound, as in trap. It's a raising of that vowel is at least part of what's going on there. And then you've got some things like some diphthongs where the O, New York O, is a little bit open at the beginning, but most Americans do that. Almost all Americans do that. And then the ow, right now, now. Most Americans do that to some degree. So there are absolutely some other things that happen in New York accents, but they're the kinds of things that most Americans do. They're also the things that don't stand out quite as much. While Hell's Corner and the non-rhotic leaning or full-on non-rhotic R-dropping quality, those are things that are essential to it, along with that forward quality that will have an influence on all the other sounds. Okay, if you really want to do a deep dive on this, you can find the New York City materials at accenthelp.com, including my voice guiding you through that accent. You'll hear a bunch of other voices as well, and there are a ton of native speakers because it's all designed for actors who are trying to learn these accents. And I'm constantly gathering more recordings and adding them to that because part of what I'm really trying to do is to help actors to do something that is more, well, first of all, to be able to do accents in general, and also to be able to do them more authentically. So that's why native speaker recordings are absolutely essential for trying to reflect the way that people actually speak. Cool. For more info on New York accents, but also all kinds of other accents, you can check out accenthelp.com.